Hello, people of YouTube, and welcome back. So, yeah, welcome to my new game room. This is where the magic happens, as it were. But yeah, quite a lot of stuff been happening over the last few months. As probably a lot of you know, I've moved into a new place, and because of that, I've had to build a new game room. I've done it completely from scratch, trying to not do the IKEA route, and basically built everything myself, including stuff down there, like the bookcase down there, the drawers and everything. So yeah, I'm really proud of myself, I've got to say. But because of that, I've not really been playing much games over the last few months, and I always try and have a bit of an October horror themed month, and I knew I was kind of getting to the end of the stuff that I needed to do, so I thought it would be a nice way to sort of like cap off the busyness that I have, and have a nice month of just as pure gaming as I can. I've still been doing stuff, don't get me wrong. There's if you own a home, you'd probably know there's always stuff that needs to be done, and I've been, even up until last weekend, I've been doing new projects like with involving decorating and just tarting things up just to how I want it to be. But yeah, but still, I've played a lot more games in the last month than I have for pretty much the whole of the year, so it's been good. And yeah, so to kick off the month, we played a game that, to be honest, it kind of worked in quite well for it. As probably a few of you guys know, we've started a bit of a 52 game challenge, sort of game club, where we're, instead of a book club, we're going to be doing like a game that's randomly picked by Gordon's random game generator. We all put 3 games in each, quite a few of us, and it keeps generating a game. Funny enough, two of my 3 games have already been picked in the 4 spins that we've had of the wheel, which is crazy. But yeah, the second game that was chosen was Murdered Soul Suspect, which I picked up specially for this because I thought I actually had the game, but I didn't. But I got the nice special edition. The art book's really cool in here as well. It's almost like a pickups video. I don't think I've showed this on the pickups actually, but yeah, it kind of like fitted in the theme of horror month. So it was quite nice to actually sort of not break up the theme a little bit. So yeah, this game, I actually really enjoyed it for what it was. It's very dated, I must say, and it was very ahead of its time. This was very much a story based, sort of like a telltale game, ghost story where you was murdered, obviously, as it says, and you need to figure out the happenings of why that happened. And yeah, pretty cool. I did really enjoy it. I enjoyed my time with it. It's probably not for everyone, because it is very dated, very linear, and it sort of like mixes in sort of elements of like collecting with the storytelling, which probably again kind of breaks up. He kind of didn't know what kind of game it wanted to be at some points, but yeah, like definitely, if this is a cheap game, you can get this for like £4. I think this costs like £6 as the special edition delivered. So yeah, this is, if you don't mind like story-based games, is quite good. Very cliche, but yeah, definitely one recommended, especially in horror month. Get yourself a bit spooked up, and then from there we went into something totally different. So I went and played the Yyarari games. So I said games, I only played this single one. So I've got a couple of these. There's a third one, I believe, as well. But yeah, I played this one, and yeah, I'm glad I played it. Would I go and play any of the other games in the series? I'm not too sure. I need to probably look into it, but I'm pretty sure they all play the same. This is, I don't know, an interesting game. It starts off, you're basically in an isometric sort of style. You have like a torch and you're walking around, and yeah, it starts off quite dark fast, even though it's quite a cutesy looking game. Yeah, I don't know if I should say what happened, not because I'm worried about the content, but I think it's probably worth playing. And it's quite a shocking start to the game. A lot of people say it's very scary in reviews. I think that was just sort of like the early sort of like people trying to be trendsetters and stuff like that. It's not. It's basically almost like a walking simulator in some ways. You're just like getting from point A to B, avoiding different sort of like spectres and stuff like that, trying to find out the events of what's happened. Basically, you're chasing after your dead dog, or was it a dead you? That's the sort of like the story that's unfolding. But yeah, quite an interesting one. The art style was very good. It's supposed to be played in dark. I did to start off with it. It was pretty good, but obviously you kind of limit yourself when you can actually play the game. So I did play it in the dark. I enjoyed it. It was quite moody. The sound effects are quite like set up to be very jump scary. But yeah, it was a good 6 out of 10 game, I would say. Definitely one to maybe try if you can get it cheap, just to see the shocking start. To be honest, yeah, that was very strange. It took a really dark turn. Some interesting bosses, I've got to say as well. Next up, this one I've not got the bloody fancy cover. The fancy cover's up there somewhere on the shelves. In fact, is that it there? Yeah, no, that's a different game. But yeah, anyway, it's the Chant. So this is my first true PS5 game I've ever played. One that's not on any other system. This is an exclusive. It might be on Xbox Series S, but it's not for like the older, or at least not physically for the older generations. Is it a PS5 powerhouse? Absolutely not. It really isn't. It could be played on probably a PS3 in some ways. But that being said, I really enjoyed this game. This is really cool. You basically go to an island to visit your sister, who is in this sort of like very well-off community, gated community, pretty much a cult. But we find out more of the story unfolding. Yeah, so basically they have like these crystals around the island that like sort of like channel into sort of supernatural entities, and yeah, you sort of like do this ritual where you take these hallucinogenics, and it's sort of like no one's really believing what's supposed to happen, but the only thing that sort of like they say that you have to do is make sure that you don't break the circle. And of course, what happens? The circle gets broken. And then you need to try and get all these crystals back to sort of like normalize the island, because it's the only way you can make sure that these entities don't get into the real world. Honestly, it's really cheesy. It's very obvious. Not the hardest of games, but yeah, really cool. The only thing I know it's very survival horror tropes, but I was always like worried that I was going to run out of like the ammo, which is sort of like you make spells and stuff like that. It's not quite so much a shotgun, although you do have weapons in there. Yeah, it's very unique like mechanic of for attacking and stuff like that. Yeah, so I suppose like realistically the job was done, in the fact that like the resource management was just enough to get through the game, and it was quite spot on. Yeah, I always worry about these kind of games. I'm just gonna run out of stuff and then that's it. There's no way I can progress through the game. But yeah, no, highly recommended. This is quite a cheap game now. It's again probably not for everyone, because a lot of people go into these games thinking they're going to be PS5. It's going to have to be the best graphics. It really isn't. It's the thing is though, it's quite pretty. It's sort of like got like surreal kind of colours in the game, where it's sort of like I don't know, hyper neon, sort of like what's going on in the background here. Like sort of auras around things, and I really like that kind of look. So yeah, really cool. Kind of like almost a nostalgic sort of like take on like horror, culty kind of like movies vibe. Yeah, really good. Next up, we've got Madison. So yeah, we played. Well, I say we, the royal we. Myself, I played Madison, and this was on the back of quite a few other people. I always saw this. I just thought this is just going to be a budget game. A lot of them are just sort of like throwaway. They're kind of cool for a little bit, but no, this game made a massive impression on me. I was hooked as soon as I started playing this game. I really loved it. Basically, yeah. I don't want to say too much about the story because I think everyone should experience this. Don't wait for Horror Month. Just play this as soon as you can. But yeah, basically it's a first-person horror game that's based in just a house. You start off, you hear your dad banging down on the door and you're wondering what's going on. And then the world sort of like, you escape that room and then the world sort of like goes a bit like surreal. Like the room starts like moving bigger and smaller. Things you'll turn around and then like the room's blocked off and you can turn back again and then there's completely different scenes behind you. Yeah, and it's really cool. It's a very heavy puzzle based sort of game. Most of it is quite doable. There was a couple of things I had to have a guide for. Not many, which was quite good because sometimes if you look at a guide, especially on a game like this, it can kind of take a lot of the sort of like suspense away. But yeah, there was one bit. There was, I can't remember what it was. There was something in a floorboard, and I was trying to open up the floorboard, and I couldn't open it. And I went back to my lockup because you have like a little lockbox, like a safe. Because again, you can only carry a certain amount of items at one time. So I went back there to get like a crowbar to see if we could pry up the floorboards, and I couldn't work out how to get it. And I watched like a video, and literally it was you had to click this specific little dot that like open, like just selected it. You didn't even need anything just to do it, and that frustrated me a little bit. So that is the only downfall of this game. I think this game was made definitely for PC. Probably for VR, and I know there is a VR version of this now, and the reason why I say that is because you've got like sort of like a reticle in the middle and that you can't hardly see, and you have to be very pinpointy with your first person to select the items, and sometimes you can miss things because of that. Once you figure that out, it makes it a little bit easier, but to start off with, I was getting a little bit frustrated sometimes, like I say, that floorboard example for example. But Jesus Christ, yeah, this is a good story, and I like the way it ended as well. I didn't quite fully understand it. Again, I watched another video about the talking of it, and then it all clicked, and I was like, yeah, that's a fantastic ending. If you know, you know. But yeah, this is a really cheap game, and it comes in with really cool stuff. You've got all these Polaroids that you use along. It's sort of like you don't have weapons. You have a camera that sort of like helps you along with your puzzles. You can take pictures to take along with you to sort of like solve future puzzles, and also use it to sort of like as a select, almost to confirm something, like open up a chest or something. It's pretty unusual. Next up, we completely changed tact, and I thought it was going a bit too horror-y. And I played The Mummy Demastered. So I thought, yeah, this is sort of like the what's it called? The the standard horror Mummy, the Mummy. Although it's very much not a standard horror sort of game. There's no horror in this game. I don't understand how this actually sort of like harkens back to the film, of the fact that there's like people running in with guns. To be honest, I've not really seen the film, but yeah, this is a really good game. It's probably not my favorite. It's like sorry, let's go back to the start. This is basically a Metroidvania, if you've not played this game before. Very cool. but it's not the best Metroidvania. It's sort of like it's very Metroidvania by numbers, and it's not the hardest of games. It's very easy. I think I died twice, and that was just at a boss because I didn't quite understand its mechanic. And yeah, I didn't really get lost that much in this game because it was very straightforward. But yeah, that being said, it's definitely a good game. Probably not worth buying the physical for, because I think this is quite a limited run, where it is from limited run. But I've seen this on sale quite a lot of times, and if you can get this for single figures, you're onto a winner. You'll enjoy this. This is quite a good game, especially if you enjoy your Metroidvanias. But like I say, it's not the best. It's just good. Next up, we played. I don't know. Again, I've lost a couple of the boxes for these. The Thing. This is going to be a short one as well. The Thing for the PS2. That was the retro game I wanted to play during this month. I always try and make sure I play some kind of retro with these, because obviously I can stick to PS4 all day long. The amount of PS4 games I've got, and then just never run out of games. I always try and make sure I play some retro. And The Thing was, I've been thinking about it for months. I want to play The Thing. A lot of people say very high, hold it in high regard. And I love the film. The film is one of the best films there is around. But yeah, but the game, I couldn't get on with it. Basically, it started off okay. I was okay with it. But then I got to this outside bit, and once you go outside, you have like a meter that keeps going down with your temperature, which obviously kind of makes sense and everything like that. However, I was looking for this key to get to the next section, and I just couldn't find it. And I thought, so early on into this game, if I have to start looking at a guide, then I'll probably get frustrated with the rest of the game, and I just won't enjoy it. So I thought, I'm just going to cut my losses and stop it now. I'm a bit gutted because I really, really wanted to enjoy that game, and I really need to go back and play a PS2 game soon, because I do like to have a few PS2 entries into my 52 game challenge every year, and I don't know if I've got many this year, but yeah, anyway, next up, talking of retro, we went and played Splat House Wanpaku Graffiti on the Famicom. In fact, I've got a cartridge here, so a cool little cartridge. Yeah, so everyone probably knows what Splat House is. However, people probably don't know of this game. And yeah, this is an 8-bit version of Splat House. However, it's sort of a little bit chibi, cutified, although it's still quite bloody gory. It sort of like brings in lots of nods to horror movies, which the rest of the games don't. They kind of do, they imply them a little bit, but this like fully embraces it. So you got like Aliens, Jaws, and then like just all the classic 80s and 90s, well 80s horror movies, basically, as like stage bosses, or like just sort of like just the whole levels and stuff. There's a little bit like right at the start where you enter a level, and it's basically ripping off Michael Jackson's Thriller, where like all these zombies are like just dancing like left and right, and then all of a sudden they like jump onto the stage, and then you got to attack them. Absolutely fantastic. This is so clever, such a clever little game, a fun game, and very doable as well. I used a couple of continues to go through it. Once you use a continue though, you lose all of like sort of like your health that's like been bought up, so then that makes it even harder again. But yeah, really highly recommend playing this game if you can, or even just watching it on YouTube. Get it however you can, emulate it, whatever. But yeah, this, if you're into your horror, if you're into your retro, definitely play this. It's a shame they didn't come into the West, but the amount of like references to other movies, I can see why it never happened. So yeah, pretty cool. Next up, a game I've always heard mixed reviews for. I know Give 84 played it, and I think what he said sort of like stuck in my mind a little bit too much, maybe, because I know he started it and he didn't finish it, and for him, who plays so many games and beats them, I was like, it just kind of like worried me a little bit, and I was like, oh, am I gonna like it? Am I not? And it is Tormented Souls. So yeah, this is a really cool looking sort of horror game, sort of like based on sort of like a Resident Evil style. Originally the game, I think, was supposed to be played in tank controls. However, as standard when you play it now, it plays with like a normal traditional horror, like a traditional sort of game where like you just use your analog stick and you walk in the directions that you're supposed to. However, the game is very, very sort of like over cumbersome. And I couldn't get on with it. I couldn't get on with it because of like how many steps you had to just open a door that you had to go through. I just knew again it would stress me out so much so I need to take a sip of coffee, which is a shame because I've got a feeling I might have really enjoyed it. I think I would have liked the whole theming of it, but it just was a bit too much. Like for instance, you'd go to a cabinet and then you'd have to like select. I can't remember how it was. It took me ages to work out how to open this cabinet, and then once I did, I got like the parts I needed to exit the room, and you had to basically use I think it was a spanner to open up the door because the handle had come off. So I used it on that. Now you need to modify this item to use it, it says. So I was like, oh god. So basically you had to select the item and then move the ratchet a bit more. I think I clicked it twice and then I couldn't open it because it was modified too much. So you had to figure out how many ratchet clicks you could use before you could open a door, and I was like, this is starting to be a bit frustrating, and I'm not even left the first room yet. And then the bit that did it for me, I turned left towards the corridor and I just instantly died, and I was like, I don't even know what happened here. It was just like an instant death. It was kind of cool because it was like I went into a dark bit and it just didn't like it, and I was like, too many things, there's too many factors here that is making me not enjoy this game. So yeah, unfortunately I had to press stop on it. So yeah, not the greatest of times. But yeah, next up we played another game that I'm not a massive fan of, but I thought this would be quite Halloweeny, which was Dead Cells Return to Castlevania. So I've only put an hour into this game, and yeah, so this is a roguelike game. Basically, after you die, you start again, and I just can't. For most roguelites, you seem to like level up, and I can't seem to understand how to level up on this. I just seem to just keep doing the same stage over and over and again, although the stage kind of changes a little bit. I've got into the Castlevania bit where like you go for a drawbridge and stuff like that, and there's like lots of nods to Castlevania, but I don't know, the jury's out on this one. I've got a feeling I'm going to try this again and really love it, because the story's not over between me and this game. This is the second time I've tried it, this time with the Castlevania DLC. But yeah, we've not finished. Our paths have not crossed for the last time. We will be going back to this, and I'm going to enjoy it. I'm determined of it. Next up, a game I can't find a box for, but it is somewhere. I don't know where it is, and it's Spider Saws. Again, sort of like a Strenuous Link. It's not like the traditional horror, but it was very spiders are scary, aren't they? So yeah, it's such a fantastic game. It's sort of like nod to Contra and a lot of run and gun games, with a crossover with the Saturday morning sort of theming, where it's got like fully animated cutscenes, and an actual proper theme songs with lyrics in it and stuff. fantastic. It's just such a great game, and it's not a walk in the park either. It's going to test your skills, which I really love hard sort of like 2D games like that. I much more persist on a game like that than a sort of like a 3D game where like probably I got to use my mind too much. That's probably what it is. Got to use my brain, which is probably very adult by now. So yeah, fantastic. I very much recommend everyone pick that game up. Again, physically probably not so much unless you're a physical collector, because it's quite expensive for what it is. The game is probably about an hour and a half game to beat from A to B. There's only about 6 stages, maybe 8. But it took me probably 6 hours to beat that game. There was a war of attrition to get to the point, and I was determined to beat that game. I needed to do it. The last stage, funny enough, I found a lot easier than the stage before. In fact, I don't even think I died on the last stage, even the last few bosses, like the role of boss. But yeah, if you could, I think it's currently on sale at the moment on the digital store. So put it on your wish list, guys, and when you're ready to buy it, play it, because honestly, you will thank me, because it's a fantastic game. And we are last. Played quite a few games, haven't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games I've played. 8 games. No, not 8 games I've beaten. 6 games I've beaten, I think. Anyway, a few games I've beaten. And then this is the story is still unfolding, and it is Luigi's Mansion. I should have cleaned it before I've done this video. Bloody hell, what am I like, eh? Luigi's Mansion 2 for the 3DS. So this game was made specifically for the 3DS, and you can kind of tell this is a good game at heart, but what I'm not enjoying fully about this game is the repetition it introduces. I think what I've heard, because I've still not played the first one yet, the first game is quite a short game, but this I'll probably put about 10 hours into this game so far, and I'm not quite beat it yet. I think I've got another mansion. I'm halfway through the second to last mansion. I think I've got one more mansion to do, and the bit that frustrates me is there's a lot of repetition. So like there's basically 5 or 6 chapters for each of the mansions, and every time you start from the beginning, and then you have to work your way around the mansion again, trying to find like a sort of piece, or like you basically got to sound like you get like a mission statement of what you need to do. But yeah, it's a good game, and I'm still playing through it. Problem is as well with the 3DS, I'm sort of like getting crampy if I'm playing it for too long, so I'm trying to do like a stage or two like a mission or two at a time, and hopefully I'll get this beat soon, hopefully by the end of the month. I need to play it a bit more because I've sort of like held off playing it. But yeah, it's a really good game. It's made me want to play the other games as well in the series a bit more. I like the idea of like how you play it. I really enjoy it, but I just want that more like streamlined experience. Yeah, so this is going to get finished sooner rather than later. But anyway, yeah, that's my games for the month of October. What about you guys? What kind of games have you been playing? Anything good? Anything I need to look out for? Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.